Hello everyone, welcome to Dnyanadeep Academy. So in this series, we are going to discuss some previous year questions from main examination. So this is one question from GS paper 1 geography section. So examine the potential of wind energy in India and explain the reasons for their limited spatial spread. Okay, so this is a very repetitive topic when it comes to prelims or mains. You will find that there are many questions on these resources related issues, right? So in resources related issues, you will find frequent questions on coal or any other resource type, typically energy resource, and then sometime there will be other resources which are being asked, right? And that is why this particular question becomes very important, because this also gives you hint on what can be next questions from this particular section. So in resources, I can very well say that we need to be very well prepared on renewable resources, right? They are in contemporary discussion, as well as they are very crucial for Indian economy and India's energy sector. So that is why I'll prepare this renewable energy sector very well, and I'll try to identify what kind of questions can be asked from this particular area. Now coming back to this particular question, which is regarding wind energy potential in India, and it is also asking the reasons for limited spatial spread, right? Now very good question, a combination of factual data as well as analysis. You'll have to provide here a lot of facts related to wind energy in India, and then you will also have to give geographical reasons and other reasons for its limited spatial spread. So that kind of approach you need to go forward with in this particular question. Coming to introduction, how you can introduce for this particular question. So by and large, this question requires an introduction which is based on fact, and what kind of facts you can present. So you can have many facts regarding wind energy in India or renewable energy in India, and if you are very precise with facts, and if you have this wind potential of India wala fact, you can go for this particular fact directly. Say India has so and so much of wind potential spread across these many states or these areas, right? So that kind of introduction is very valid in this particular part. That will be very spot on, right? Other than this, if you don't have any specific number on wind energy potential of India, you can also quote a number which is talking about wind energy in India. At the same time, you can have any other number on renewable energy in India. So that will also be acceptable, but best possible scenario should be you should be having this particular number handy, right? Now that is how I am likely to start. There are many other ways in which people will start. They might talk about some SDGs, right? Or they might also talk about India's renewable energy sector and its goals. So you all know India is very much emphasizing on development of renewable energy, and you can also talk about that particular part and say that this much of renewable energy is being produced in India. Now that is about introduction, various ways in which you can introduce. I'll straight away now jump on to the body part. When it comes to body part, now there are already two parts in the question itself. Question is first asking about the wind energy potential of India, and later on it is talking about the limited spatial spread, right? So I also have made two sections. So by and large, please make two sections anyway, even if there is something directly mentioned or if not. So I have part A, where I am talking about wind energy potential in India, and when it comes to wind energy potential, again two approaches are needed here, okay? So I just mentioned some point. I'm going to give you approach only. I'm not going to give you complete answer. What is expected to be written is something I'm trying to address here. Now when it comes to wind energy potential in India, there are two parts I'm expecting as a person who is thorough with geography. One part where I will ask for facts, right? So I will have to have a very specific number ki this much is the wind energy potential in India. At the same time, I will say ki these are the various states across which wind energy can be harnessed, right? So that is how this particular part is going to be addressed, which is regarding fact. Now I'll now have to provide how there is a lot of wind energy potential, or why India has a good wind energy potential. What are the geographical context of that wind energy potential? And when it comes to geographical context of that wind energy potential, so I'll talk about long coastline of India, around 7,000 kilometers of coastline of India, and these coastlines are experiencing windy conditions because along the coastline you have offshore and onshore wind. We are blowing on a continuous basis. So I'm going to talk about this coastline. After that, I'll also talk about the mountain ranges of India, be it Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, or Himalayas, which have a good wind velocity or continuous blowing of wind, and which is giving a good potential for the production of wind energy. If you look at India's wind energy production areas, by and large you will find that these areas spread across Western Ghats or even Eastern Ghats and sometimes in Himalayas, right? So that is how you are going to mention key. These are the geographical settings or geographical conditions which are giving rise to wind energy potential in India. Other than that, I have one very specific phenomenon, monsoon. Monsoon is a seasonal reversal of wind. For 6 months, winds are blowing in one direction, and for another 6 months, winds will be blowing in exactly opposite direction. And this particular phenomena is going to give very windy conditions which are good for the harnessing of wind energy across coastline as well as Western and Eastern Ghats of India, and sometimes in the remote northeastern parts of India, right? So these are the geographical conditions or geographical context as a result of which India is endowed with a lot of wind energy potential. So now what I have done, I have provided first fact, then I have provided geographical conditions which are going to result into this kind of potential. So this is first part of the answer. Moving on to the next part, part B, I have to address limited spatial spread of this particular wind energy. Now this limited spatial spread can be a result of many factors. Not necessarily here we are talking about geographical factors. We also have some technological factors, some capital and cost factors, as well as India's the pattern of energy consumption and the infrastructure which is available in here. Now you will have to address on these lines. If you look at the earlier part, we were more focused on the geographical aspect. So I had talked more about how geographical settings are resulting into wind energy potential in India, but in later part I am going to more focused on various other details as well. Now when it comes to limited spatial spread, first issue will be geographical limitations, right? So though we have windy conditions in many parts of the country, for the production of wind energy or harnessing of wind energy, we need a sustained wind velocity, and that particular sustenance is not everywhere available, and that is why there is limited spatial spread. At the same time, inaccessibility of locations, because most of the parts of India go to Western Ghats or even Eastern Ghats. Maybe windy conditions are prevailing, but they are not as accessible. Connectivity issues are there. The infrastructure which needs to be installed up to that particular last point, it might not be available, and that is why this inaccessibility is also limiting the spread of wind energy in India. Further, we will talk about technology, right? Not everywhere this technology is easily available. The cost of this technology and the capital expenditure which needs to be done when it comes to installing wind energy, so that is also huge. So private sector is putting a lot of money into it, but state governments also need to put money in this particular area, and not all states are financially equally equipped, and that is somewhere we find that is resulting into the limited spatial spread of wind energy. Further, we have over dependence on traditional sources. Now this over dependence on traditional sources results into two things, that there is limited acceptance or limited take up of the newly available renewable energy, and another important, the most crucial part which you need to understand here will be the infrastructure which is available. So whatever infrastructure we have, that infrastructure has been built as per the requirement of traditional energy resources, and when it comes to these renewable or wind energy, they are not equivalent or comparable to the traditional energy resources. Now sometimes you might have the availability of wind, and accordingly you can harness some amount of energy. Sometimes it might not be possible. When it comes to traditional energy sector of India, since it is running on mostly coal based, most of the 50% of the energy in India is coming from coal resources, so it is run as per the requirement, right? And when it comes to renewable energy such as wind or even solar, it also gets affected by the geographical conditions or the surrounding environmental conditions, and that is why the kind of infrastructure, the kind of grids and the balance in grids which is required, it is more skewed towards the traditional sources and not the renewable sources, and that is somewhere we have limitations. Also these grids are not able to connect with the last mile point. Accessibility issue we already have discussed, and that will also limit the growth of wind energy in India. And most importantly, environmental issues. Most of the wind energy project, they are located in remote areas where there is abundant of wildlife and abundant of biodiversity, and when these projects are installed, they require environmental clearance which is not as easily available, and then it restricts the development or growth of this wind energy sector. So that is how we have limited spatial spread of wind energy in India. So we have adequately addressed both of the parts. Now moving forward to next part. So is map required in this particular question? So yes, you will have to draw a map in this particular question. So draw map of India, right? And on the map of India, show which areas are known for the harnessing of wind energy in India. On map you can also show which state has the maximum wind energy potential in India. Now this particular can be question in your prelims as well, or a statement in any prelims question also. So just in the comment box write the answer, which state in India has the highest wind energy potential. I'm not talking about the state which has highest wind energy production, I'm talking about the highest wind energy potential state. So draw all these details on map, and when it comes to conclusion, have a way forward type conclusion where you'll talk about how these limitations can be overcome. You can also quote some schemes in here, right? So that is how you are supposed to approach this particular question. Try to write answer, collect all facts and figures and data, and then try to approach this question in the method we discussed now, right? So thank you everyone, we'll see you in next part.